Assalamu alaikum. My name is Layal Bukhari, and I'm very excited to be here today. So, every parent, sibling, or family member dreams the best for the people that they love. They dream for them to be accepted in society, treated as equals in society. However, sometimes life turns out in unexpected ways, in ways that we would never expect. Sometimes the people that we love the most are born with intellectual disabilities. Intellectual disabilities are defined as certain limitations in cognitive function, communication skills, social skills, and self-care skills. While this isn't an issue in our daily lives, if we know how to navigate it properly, we do see issues in our society frequently, such as underestimating their capabilities and cognitive bias, which is frustrating for them, for their families, and for their sisters, like myself. When I was 5 years old, my brother Abadi, my superhero, was 9 years old. Now, we were treated exactly the same. We were treated as society expects us to act, as messy children. Because all children are expected to still be learning how to navigate their social lives, learning how to navigate their emotions, learning how to act, how to speak, and what to say. And some children are very fond of, this is my brother, wrong slide. But as we get older, something in society changes. People start expecting independence from some people and then stop expecting independence from others. Now, this specifically impacts people with intellectual disabilities, as people start expecting less independence from them. And that causes more harm than it does good. I'll give you an example. It hit my brother early on, when suddenly, instead of being viewed as somebody who's still growing, he started to be viewed as somebody who would never grow, which is absolutely absurd, because my brother is one of the most curious, one of the most driven people in learning new things, doing new things, having new experiences, and simply enjoying life. He's one of the most driven learners that I know. And so at the age of 10, that's when I started to really realize this difference between us. And that's when I asked my mother for the first time. I asked her, "Mom, why do people talk to him differently than they would talk to me? Why do they talk to him in a way where they believe that he wouldn't understand what they're trying to say to him, even though he's perfectly capable of understanding?" And that's the moment of realization for me. That's when I started to understand we have an issue in our society. Our society, I started to realize that this issue transcends far past my family. The issue is underestimation. I started to realize that people underestimated people with intellectual disabilities. People painted this image in their head that they were incapable of doing things, that they were incapable of being put in social situations, when in a lot of cases that's simply true. And so they're protected, they're over-supervised, they're talked over, they're talked for. And while this may look like a veil of protection and a veil of safety, what it can actually turn into is a veil of limitation. Now, what I want to talk about now is the self-fulfilling prophecy. The self-fulfilling prophecy is a term coined by Robert Martin, a sociologist and psychologist at the University of Harvard. Now, he defines this as a false definition of the situation, evoking a new behavior which makes the originally false conception come true. Sounds long. To put it in simple words, when people expect something of someone, maybe expect them to fail at doing something, they'll start to think that they can't do it. And sometimes this very expectation is the reason for their failure. And the self-fulfilling prophecy functions as a cycle. I'm going to now use myself as an example. Say one day I want to travel by myself. Me and my brother frequently visit our family in a nearby city by ourselves. And so one day I said, I want to travel by myself. And so this statement was viewed as confidence. I heard, you can handle this. You got this. I'm going to put myself in somebody else's shoes. I'm going to put myself in my brother's shoes. When he decided that he wanted to travel by himself, what he heard was something entirely different. The reaction changed, not because the route changed, not because the flight changed, but because the expectation changed. And I understand it comes from love and it comes from fear. But what he misses out on is building the confidence from doing something himself. What he misses out on is the opportunity to learn new things, which I think everybody deserves. And so he gets fewer chances. And then make a mistake, people will look and say, oh, see, we were right. He just wasn't ready. Is not true. See, that's the self-fulfilling prophecy. We assumed that this person wasn't capable of doing something. And so that led to them not being confident enough to do it. Now, let me tell you what actually happened. Phase 1. Travel. My brother would travel by ourselves. And so the first step in our journey was fake it so he can make it. What I mean by this is during our journey to Riyadh, I would frequently get lost. I would frequently need help getting my bag. I would frequently need help finding the gate. And so my wonderful brother would help me through the airport. He would lead me. He would help me find my gate, and he would tell me right from wrong. Now this built so much confidence, so much independence, which I think everybody with intellectual differences deserves, a chance. Phase 2. Now this phase got more serious. Now, he was going to travel by himself. My grandma was petrified. The idea of him struggling alone in the airport, she couldn't even believe. She couldn't even imagine. But we knew that this was the right direction. We knew that we needed to do this. And so, this was the first time he traveled by himself. Now, from the very minute we dropped him off to the gate until the very minute he arrived at my grandma's house, he was on the phone with us. We were virtually there with him. We were virtually there with him every single step to show him that he can do it himself, to help him where he needed. And now, the third and very final step. This was showtime. We decided he was going to travel absolutely alone. Nobody online with him, nobody there with him physically, no one even checking his bag in for him, because we knew he could do it himself. And so that's what he did. We dropped him off at the airport. We were pretty confident. We knew he could do it. And so on his last trip back, this was the picture we received when he arrived. By himself, all alone, and not a single phone call for help. And that is just one of the many examples that I can give you of the amazing things that you can see happen, or the amazing capabilities of people with intellectual differences when you just give them the chance. Now, knowing that not everybody can relate to this exact situation, I want to zoom out a bit. Now, a concept that every single person in this room, consciously or subconsciously, may believe in is that just because somebody communicates differently, they need to be spoken to differently. I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Because what's spoken to differently usually turns into is being treated smaller, breaking confidence. People don't just underestimate what people with intellectual disabilities are able to do, like travel alone. People underestimate how capable they are in social situations. And so what happens is they're typically spoken for, spoken over, and the one that I see every single day is spoken down on. And this may be something that we do subconsciously too. But I'm here to fix that, and I'm here to teach you the right way. And so, one example of this is the baby voice. So, how was your day today? I don't think that was very necessary. I don't think that was very appropriate. And what may surprise you is that most people with intellectual differences don't appreciate being talked to in that way. And I'll give you an example. When I was younger, I grew up with a terrible stutter. I couldn't say, mommy, I couldn't say that. It was really hard for me to talk usually. And so, thinking about it, I don't think I would appreciate somebody talking to me with the same stutter that I had. And so that's how I think about it. And so, to break it to you, they are more aware than we think. They are more aware of how people interact with them than we may think. And so, my brother is one of the most talkative people I know. He loves talking about sports. He loves talking about cars. He never runs out of things to talk to, and he's the most interesting person in this world. And for the longest time, I always wondered why he sometimes went silent when talking to people my age, teenagers. And then until one day, when one of my friends said he was the cutest thing in this world. Pause. What? He went absolutely silent. He didn't know what to say, and rightfully so, because if I was a strong 21-year-old, confident man, I wouldn't want to be called the cutest thing in this world. And so then I realized he felt the downgrading beneath that compliment. And then I realized it's what any of us would think. And it wasn't about the inability, it was about dignity. And that's what I think a lot more people should be more aware of. And connecting this back to underestimation, it's the same cycle. People underestimate how capable people with intellectual disabilities are in social settings, and so they treat them as if they're incapable of handling a normal conversation. And that leads to them missing out on opportunities on how to interact regularly, which is harmful. And now, I know a lot of you may be thinking, oh, I might have said something wrong in this very situation 6 months ago. I'm here to tell you, don't. It's very, very normal. And so when I say give them opportunities, I don't mean give them opportunities, let them do whatever they want, fly wherever they want. I mean give them everyday opportunities. Give them a chance to speak. Hear their opinions. Don't talk for them. Let them express their own opinions. And so independence isn't just built through skills alone. Independence is built through trust, social trust, and collaboration. And you see, everybody in this room has one way or another contributed to the growth of someone with an intellectual disability. Whether it was one conversation, whether it was a look, whether it was spending your whole life with them. And by respecting them, you're allowing them to thrive. And so the next time that you meet someone with an intellectual disability, I hope I inspired you to let them show you what they're capable of, because they're capable of so much more than you'd ever imagine.